All right. All right. So I do want to remind everybody this class, much like a kind of a cumulative course, or really even I think I compared it to like being an art major, right? Sometimes when you get out into the world of work, it's really nice and handy to have examples of your work. Because I remember doing some papers in my, I think I told you all about anthropological theory, and I had those theoretical papers to hold on to and treasure for the rest of my life. But when it came to applying to jobs, I didn't really have a good example of how I communicate effectively. And so I wanted you, as part of this course, to be able to take with you a portfolio of your work and even build upon it as you continue your studies or as you move on into your next stages. And that portfolio is really made up of four things, right? An effective executive summary, a short summary dashboard presentation, a full data story presentation, kind of like a TED Talk, right? Like 15 minutes or so. And then that last item is almost the most difficult, but I'm not, I don't want you to think that it is difficult moving into it. But really that 3x5 card, right? That four bulleted item list, 3 to 4 bulleted items that succinctly summarize what you know and what people should do because of what you know. So all that to say, we started off this week with you building your executive summaries. Your other items are going to be due at the end of the course. So you've really got between now and the end of the course to really put together kind of the last pieces. So remember, you are expected to respond to your executive summary draft peer review this week, as well as by the middle of next week, finish up that 3x5 summary piece. Again, building off the same data for all of these. And I've also assigned you your final reflection for the course, your critical reflection. That's nothing that should take more than an hour, but I do want you to spend at least 20 to 30 minutes to an hour really reflecting on how you've learned and grown in this class, what you struggled with, what you were able to achieve, those sorts of things, because I think it really helps both of us really find out kind of how that progression occurs and how this is going to impact your life, right? Every course should have a positive impact on your career, on your hobbies, your habits, your knowledge, your skills, those sorts of things. So these are those three that are kind of current this week, next week. And then you've really got the two applies, the two big pieces that are available really to work on now, but not due until the end of the course. So the first one being kind of a 1 to 5 minute summary, like quick kind of you know showing of your information, clicking through, discussing. That was pre-recorded by you and then submitted. Along with that, you'll submit your final executive summary, right, based on the peer review process that we're going through this week. But those are just kind of there together. Then the last supply, this one is the one that allows you to really talk through your data story. And so I want you to structure it in a story format, right? You want to have kind of the opening comments, the introductory text, kind of that inflection point where some sort of conflict occurs, or maybe we find out something in our data, right, that leads us to want to bring about change. And then you have that series of actions that can be taken to address it. And then after that, kind of that summary level point of the story as well. So that should be between 5 and 15 minutes. I don't anticipate anybody being around 5 minutes, but I talk quick. Even though I'm a southerner, I still talk really quickly. So I've done these sort of things in 5 to 10 minutes or so. All that to say, that is where we are as far as a roadmap for the rest of this course section. Does anybody have any questions now that you've had a week to kind of think about this whole portfolio process? Anybody have any follow-up questions or comments?
When you say the end of the class, do you mean the 12th or the 13th or 14th. One of those days. I'm not looking at a calendar.
Maybe I should have, this is, hey, remember how we talked about using the headlines effectively, Kara?
Yeah.
What's the headline here?
Sorry, I was looking at the shoe. Okay.
No.
Thank you.
Okay. I just want to make sure. But please, classmates, please confirm that I've got that as the final day of the class, the 12th. Final exams are through the 12th, and so we're using that time here to. Thank you, Jody. For once, you've actually done something good for me.
Dr. Bishop, I just want to highlight how rude he is to his staff, his students, and this is constant. And now he's going to mute me, so I can't talk. It's not funny. It's really not.
I can't. Oh, I can't mute you in this class.
Are we meeting on the 6th?
Yes.
Okay.
The 7th is the last day of class. Yep. Yeah, okay. We are meeting on the 6th. And that class.
Okay. I have a Thursday class, and I was like, why do I keep thinking that this is the last week? But it's just the last week for that class. Sorry.
No worries. Yeah, we'll be doing chapter 6. Talking through chapter 6, which is really kind of bringing it all together. Okay? So this week is more on data story, construction, navigation, and so yeah, we will good question, Dia. We will definitely meet Tuesday as well. And Jody, I have not muted you once today, and I plan to keep up that trend.
We've only been in here like 5 minutes.
There's still time, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, okay. Other questions, comments, last emojis, anything like that.
So in the videos, we're like explaining what our dashboards are saying, right?
Yeah. Okay. So that's good clarification, Andrea. The first one is really kind of you doing that 5-minute summary. The second one is you really kind of telling that compelling narrative. And so this may mean that you have to create a character or create a storyline that goes along with it. You don't want to just jump on and say, World Health data said that AIDS rates per capita in Atlanta are higher than they are in New York, right? That's not really telling a compelling data story. And so that's the piece that takes a little bit more skill. Unfortunately, we all don't have an immense amount of data and characters kind of at the ready. So this is where I took a little bit of creativity to come in, and I want you to be able to get us to be interested in your data story. It's not just a summary of what the data analysis showed. It is a compelling data story that follows this pyramid, right? This kind of pyramid structure, and there are other types of story structures that you've probably read about in the book. This is the one that fits with data communication probably the best, simply because it has pieces where we can easily insert information. Usually in the inciting incident, right? Some sort of data piece may be astounding or maybe very problematic, right? I think I used the example of student retention. After the pandemic, we noticed that our students have only been retained at like 50%, whereas we used to have more than 80% of our students be retained. But maybe that rising action, right, that complication is we start to realize that more and more students are taking online classes. I'm just putting this out there, right, as an example. And then coming down, the climax says we should maybe take certain actions based on this data, and then we can insert other data elements within that section as well. So it's not just explaining your analysis, it's incorporating your analysis into a broader story. Does that make sense, Katrina?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Good clarification. Jody, anything else you want to add?
No, but thank you.
You're very welcome. All right. So let's go back to our executive summary. Let's just ask this room, how difficult, easy was it to construct those executive summaries? Did you find it was something that you kind of built from scratch, or did you use a template? How did you always feel about that?
I looked at templates, but I ended up just throwing mine together from scratch, but also it looks real similar to the one that I did before, to the other executive summary. Like I just used the same banding across the top, and because quite honestly, finding the data and figuring out what I was going to summarize took the bulk of my time. And then I was like, oh no, designing the summary. So I just had to go with kind of a simple design so that I could get it done, because I spent so much time kind of slogging through my data and figuring out kind of the framework of the story.
So, Tara, if you could do it again, or if you had to do it again, or actually, no, you will do it again, right? You're going to revise it.
Yeah.
What will you do differently? Will you spend the majority of your time revising the design or revising the content?
Probably the content, because right now mine doesn't particularly have a call to action. If I recall, if I'm thinking about it clearly, it's more of a, here's what the data says, but it doesn't really talk about what you can do or what a next step might be. And so I think I need to do a little bit more thinking and get that worked in there.
So it's not very persuasive at this point, is what you're saying.
Right.
That's it. Now, I will tell you, the design and the content are probably even Steven in terms of how effective the overall report is.
Mm-hmm.
So try to make it, design, make sure we're thoughtful in our design practices as well.
Yeah.
Others, how did the executive summary go for you?
And of like a out of 10 stars, I would say it felt like a 7 out of 10 of trying to figure out
What?
just like what exactly to put in it. So I just based it off of the executive summary and just made like a paragraph, because I wasn't sure like how long or like how to frame the content without the actual like data visualized there.
Gotcha. Nika, did you include a visual? I can't remember if you did. I don't think you did. Yeah.
So I just made like I just wrote it like as if what I was gonna put on the visual. I just wrote it in like a paragraph altogether.
I gotcha. So what do you think you'll revise now that you've kind of started to see others and review others' submissions?
I would make it a whole lot longer, because I just did like a couple of sentences for each visual, and I think I made a little bit too much, because I think I had like 3 or 4 dashboards. And then I was just trying to figure out what to say about each.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Carrie, do you want to add? I saw you're on mute.
Oh, no, I'm just kind of agreeing with just the general, yes, absolutely redoing it. Yes, going back to my data.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
I felt like mine was
Others.
too long. I felt like I wrote a book, especially after I saw yours. And I didn't have
Which
any
one?
graphics.
Yours
as in you, Eric.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was like Kara's or Nika's or everybody's. Okay, so tell us more. Jody, why did you think that?
Just because looking at everybody else's, and it was really short and succinct, and I felt like mine, not surprisingly, meandered all over the place, and then I didn't have any images, and I didn't have any color or a nice header like Kara. So
Remind us what your topic was, Jody.
it is good Lord, my mind just went completely blank. Crime stats. I'm sorry.
That's
Crime
fine. That's right, crime
stats.
stats.
Oh, yeah. from the Marshall Project, looking at whether crime has increased or decreased between 1975 and 2015.
You know, I actually was listening to 1A, 1NPR. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of 1A, but they did a story today about how crime statistics are being distributed, but not being real, and saying, you know, that sort of thing is per capita crime and that sort of stuff is actually going to way down. But cities have this perception of being much
Right.
more violent and all. So then let's just dig in a little deeper. Even though it was very heavy in terms of text, do you have a plan for summarizing it in terms of visuals?
I think I need to include a visual from one of my dashboards or one of my charts just to kind of give it, instead of using so many words, actually show the visual to better explain it and perhaps make it shorter.
Did okay, yeah, no, I think that's probably a good idea. And don't I just heads up, don't compare yourself to everybody else. There is no one formula for an executive summary. I know I've got 5 points here, right? These are generally the 5 pieces that most will include. But there's absolutely no expected word count for any of this, right? And I put organization or character typology just because if we're being persuasive, we typically have to think more in terms of who's being impacted here, right? So if you want to talk about neighborhoods and crime rates, right? You can talk about, you know, children who go to that one school and how many arrests occur within the 5 blocks around that elementary school. You know what I mean? You don't have to always talk about the topic of crime, but you can also talk about, you know, examples like that. And my thoughts, y'all, was that starting off with this executive summary would really help us kind of start to write that storyline through the data pieces and start to include data, but also prepare us all for what's coming, which are the data storytelling pieces. Thanks, Jody. Others, we haven't heard from yet.
I'm gonna redo mine. No, because the data set that I had when I first wrote it was super duper broad, and I needed to condense it by a lot so that I wasn't just sifting through like tons and tons of dashboards that I had made. So instead of looking at like so I'm instead of looking at like all like things, I'm just looking at like the different types of colleges and their retention rates and stuff like that.
So when you say condense it down, do you mean just looking at like a few from a certain state or what, Drew? When you say condense, how are you going to do that?
So my original data set didn't really have like it just had questions without trying to figure out how to answer those questions, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
So I had like retention rates of colleges, but I didn't say like what kind, and I didn't say where they were or anything like that. So now that I've found all that, we're gonna look at it that way. So I kind of need to rewrite it so that it can be less, it'll be a lot less wordy, first of all, and second of all, it'll just be more concise.
Gotcha. Okay, well, I'm glad you got your data. Does everybody else have their data at this point that they feel very comfortable with and analyzing and preparing the other pieces of this portfolio? Feel free to give me a thumbs up or some other emoticon.
Do we have to use something like related to health and stuff, or?
No, not at all.
Okay, cool. Because I think I'm gonna just use like my actual like stuff from work.
Yeah, please. I mean, if it directly relates to what you do, Dia, that is even more compelling of a reason to use it, right? I mean, let's impact change and what we can impact change with, right? Do you have ready access to that information?
Yes. So like we've got some like general outcomes and stuff that I probably won't use. I'll probably just focus on demographics. Yeah, and finding some really cool ways to talk about our actual population itself. And maybe highlighting some strong outcomes from last semester. It's hard because like we're wrapping up this year and I could have used some of that stuff, but we just haven't done like the post test basically. Like I don't know how they feel about the program because it's their first semester.
So does the program go on a semester by semester basis or calendar year, or how does it work?
So it runs through the school year, but many of the students don't continue from year to year.
Got it.
Yeah. It's because it's optional, it's just an after school thing. So they elect in. So each cohort is kind of each school year.
Just a little lane nap. But my very first academic conference paper presentation was an analysis of two competing after-school programs and how they could partner together to benefit students, staff, and resources. So I don't know if I've told you that before, Dia, but after-school programs are kind of like close to my heart.
I didn't know that.
Others, yeah. I actually won first place in a sociology conference. So I got the first place in grad student paper competition. And by the way, take this and go present somewhere whenever y'all get done. Other data issues. Anybody have data issues at all? Nobody's analyzing mushrooms. Yeah.
No, but I will say that I always have a data issue because that feels like the hardest part of any of the projects that I've done so far is finding data that has the bits and pieces I want it to have to do what I want to do with it. If that, right? And because I don't have subject matter expert status in a lot of the things that I'm curious about, it then adds these like extra hours of learning on top of just, oh, that's a fun data set. I have to also completely orient myself to the domain and understand all the things. And so, I mean, I end up finding the data, but every time it's a struggle for me.
Gotcha. Yeah, and so remember how before, I think I did like this for y'all back when I was in my office, and I was like, you've got subject matter expertise in something, right? But do you have the analytical skills to really dive into it? Some of you do. Some of you have analytical skills because of the classes we've already taken in data analysis. But once you kind of get there, you still don't have the subject matter expertise, so you're kind of limited in both realms. And so everybody may be that novice at this point, right? But that's okay. You have to start somewhere. If you have any problems connecting data sets, remember, I didn't reiterate this at the beginning, but you're more than welcome to use different data sets together or interweave your story. To go back to Jody's example, right? Crime, right? I said, we've got local crime data in Little Rock now, where I can see within a square block, right? How many 911 calls were made there and that sort of thing. I could also interweave that with government spending at the city level, right? How has that shifted over time for the police force or anything like that? So don't feel like you have to have connecting data points between the data set. but make sure that they connect in the story and that they follow kind of a logical path. Does that make sense, y'all? Anybody else nodding enthusiastically right now? Yeah.
Just like a
Lisa.
a mini comment just about like this kind of stuff. My thing with data is I always end up having to like clean it up somehow because I always find like the weird data sets, and I'm like, I know how to use Excel and add it to Tableau, but any other format it's weird.
Yeah. And so you'll notice that sometimes publicly available data set is only available in SPSS or Stata, right? Like you might find that. If that's the case, y'all, I've got SPSS. If you don't have SPSS, I've got it. So if you send it to me, I can literally take it out and put it in Excel for you. Okay. So if you run into any kind of those data issues, let me know. Or if you find something that's weird or like unfamiliar, let me know that too. Because I might be able to translate it for you. Good point, Nika. Do you have SPSS or who has SPSS?
I think I have it for data. I'm in data analysis right now, so I have that format. But like, I'm saying, like for example, like when I was trying to find data for like doing a bunch of these dashboards and stuff, they had it in Excel, but like I was the data was like grouped by like countries and like the way that's formatted, like it couldn't work in Tableau. And I was like, this is gonna take time to clean it up. So I just chose a different data set.
Have I ever showed you how to do that in Tableau? Did we talk through that yet?
I know Tableau has like that data interpreter thing where it will like sometimes be helpful.
Sometimes, huh? This is iPads, by the way. Is anybody using iPads data? Adria, are you using iPads for your teaching notes?
Yes, I'm using iPads.
Yeah. So if you pull out iPads data, you can compare institutions. Let's see. There's a real quick. We'll pull out a few things. If you pull down multiple variables, it's going to create a new column for every variable, and Tableau is kind of one column for all the numerical things. Kind of have to flip it up. So I'll walk y'all through this real quick. I'm gonna just pick a variable. Because you might also find like the census data, right, or other stuff. So if we did fall enrollment by, let's get 3 of them. Total. Level. And census data is usually very wide. I don't know if anybody's playing with census, but same thing kind of applies there. All right, let me get it downloaded, and then I will show you. All right. So when you find yourself with a wide data set, like this one, we have, these all over here. We've got the institution and then all these fields for variables, right? Essentially, we want Abraham Baldwin, ABAC, to have 4 or 5 lines, right? 1 line for every record. And all you have to do is click on the data field, the data menu right here. And in this get and transform data, just do it from a table or range. And that creates the little ants marching all around it. And you tell it it has headers. Now what's going to happen is it's going to open up this power editor thing. And everything that you want to be transposed, right? If you want to create one column with numbers only, just click that column, the first one that you want to start, and highlight all the other numerical values. So you see that? So we want ABAC and unit ID to stay where they are, but we want to bring all these other numerical values upwards and downwards instead of wide. So then we go to transform, and under transform, we tell Excel that we want to unpivot the column. You all see this option right here? Just unpivot columns, okay? Right, and under I guess that's the any column section. Unpivot the columns, and voila. It puts it all, it has the field label as for each row now. And so you close that, you say you want to keep it, and now it's readable in Tableau. And you can filter for the variables themselves as a field. I'm sorry, but you can create a variable, bring a variable into the filters for each field, and just kind of set up those individually if you want to. Nice? Does it help? Have I ever shown the folks in data analysis how to do that? Is
No,
that a
I'm
no,
I'm going to
Kara?
cry now. I've never seen that in my life. I feel cheated.
No. I was just saving it for the good students in data communication.
Okay. Fair
Right.
enough. Fair enough.
So y'all, there's Excel is very powerful, by the way. We haven't really talked too much about that, but I mean, it is super powerful. And so just under the data menu, you can do a lot of things right here. But again, it's from table range, and then select the columns you want to unpivot, and then click unpivot. And it completely transformed it, as you probably saw here. Okay, so that's just a quick example of how to do that. Okay, so remember at the beginning of the class, I kind of told you what we were going to do, right? We're going to talk about data, talk about information, talk about insights, and then we're going to discuss kind of the anatomy of the data story. Well, now we're getting into that decision and action phase. So what I want you to think about this week, as you really start to construct those data stories, right? You really need to ask yourself, why should your audience care? And your audience is being us, right? So as you put together or construct your data story, I want you to remember your audience, okay? If even though maybe Adria, I'm the only one in the group that really works with retention rates a lot, that shouldn't stop you from pinging every single person's interest. So maybe, and I'm not going to do a presentation for you, Adria, but I will at least start you off. I'll say, maybe you should start your story by saying, you know, do you remember feeling like you shouldn't continue your college education? Right? I mean, tug at our hearts. Like, I promise I have one, even though my spouse will tell you I don't sometimes. Like, but pull at our heartstrings, y'all. Every single person, make us care about the story that you're telling. Even if and it better not be mushrooms, but even if it is something that is out in the field, maybe for most of us, right? You can still make us care because there's human empathy, right, with anything. So first ask yourself, is my audience going to care about this? And then this is the part that I've kind of gotten on to y'all a little bit about before. Remember when you told your stories about your pictures? Remember my only negative feedback for the whole class was nobody tried to convince me to do anything, right? In their storytelling. I want you to provide recommendations or have some sort of change that you want to see that comes out of your telling of your story, of your analysis of your data, okay? What should we do about X? What should we do about crime rates, right? Kara, what's your topic again?
I'm looking at anxiety and depression in kiddos.
All right, anxiety and depression in kids. What should we do about it, right? Ken, what's your topic again? Kara, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't realize you were on.
No, that's okay. I was just going to say, I guess my question is, I don't know what we should do about it. So can my call to action, because again, not an expert. Can my call to action be more about clearly something needs to be done and here are some thoughts based on what we're looking at? But I don't know.
Can the data inform those actions?
Possibly.
Because that may be a good place to intercept some more data. If you don't know, maybe that's when you rely on the data to help you provide recommendations.
What's the topic again, Kara?
I'm looking
Anxiety?
I'm looking at anxiety and depression and sort of how it shows up in kids and what the coping mechanisms and such are anecdotally.
Anecdotally from.
So I have a bunch of different data sets, and the ones that that give me the depression and anxiety stats are like census and CDC legit data. And then the ones that talk about coping mechanisms are polls that were done with high school and college students about how they manage their symptoms.
Got it.
Oh.
Right. So they're just different kinds of data, because I was like, anyway, my point being, I can't make a recommendation because it won't be like scientifically sound.
Well, where
my
you can start though is with like the CDC's recommendations, right? So the CDC has a plan for everything. If there's a disease, whether it's in your mind, your heart, or your soul, they have a plan.
So if we're not, that feels
That's
like
what
pirating if I say, here's the CDC's
see
plan.
If it's you know,
Like,
If it's not being addressed by your data, yeah, that's my question too.
you could like maybe start out for like based off of your data, you can start out with like the adults and how like common it is, especially with like COVID and stuff, for mental health. And then you can go back and say like, oh, but it's starting younger. And then you talk about like the high school data that you've collected, and then saying, oh, but it's even younger, and go about the kids' data that you collected.
Right. Okay, thanks you guys. Those are good suggestions.
Awesome. Keep them coming.
Yeah, those are good. Thank you.
You're unmuted.
So what is my topic, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I want to analyze USA shipping and profit overview from a data set. It's called Superstore from 2012 to 2016.
That's fake data probably. It's called Superstore. Is it Tableau Superstore data?
But no, I found it on Kaggle.
Okay, that's more than likely the Tableau default, like kind of fake data. Not saying you can't use it, just be aware that it's kind of meant to just be an example. Send me the link if you don't mind in the message, and I'll confirm for you. But not saying that you can't make any kind of data story or recommendations out of it. You're just going to have to work a little harder to do that, because it's not going to be, it's not naturally compelling like anxiety, right? Like you're looking at sales, I think, an inventory. Is that right, Ken?
Yeah, I try to find something like what relationship between sales and profit. Try to find some.
Okay, so then in that case, they'll probably want to do a more of a business case. Like if we want to increase our profit, or what if we don't do X then, what will happen, right? But just wanted to give you that heads up, y'all. Superstore, great data set, but not at all real. It is 100% like constructed for people learning how to do Tableau. Cool. Now, so again, not saying you can't at all or shouldn't. It's just you're going to have to work on that data story narrative and making it compelling. Jody, you said something right before I.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I came so far. I thought I was actually going to make it. So what you don't want is us just saying my chart shows, I have this beautiful bar chart. in my head, I thought the video was like us actually explaining the charts and Tableau and how we built them, but you're saying it's the story.
The larger assignment, the second apply, the 10 to 5 to 5, almost said 10 to 15, 5 to 15 minutes, that is a full-on data story. You come on, you are Eric Atchison doing a presentation. Yeah, you are, you know, on screen, like kind of front and center. You are doing your TED Talk. You are engaging us about the topic. You are telling us about the topic. And you're only incorporating those data elements within your dashboard, like as you need them. So I expect, again, we're going to talk about navigation here in a little bit. I'm going to have you like learn how to navigate from dashboard to dashboard, right? Or from view to view. So really like I didn't tell y'all this. Sorry about this. No one's asked this question. I thought about it last night. You are more than welcome to use imagery in your data story, okay? So, for example, I've got a PowerPoint up here, right? That's a pretty picture, right? So I'm telling you a data story and boom, I pop up this picture. But then all I have to do is, oops, not that one. Boom, I've got my dashboard, right? So you're more than welcome to incorporate imagery. I don't want very much text, right? You're welcome to have headlines if you need to, but no one asked about pictures. You're welcome to have pictures. Just make sure that you have that dashboard navigation. Go ahead, Jay.
So we could use PowerPoint where you do the voice record.
I would just get on Zillow, and you've got 40 minutes free with I'm sorry, not Zillow. God, y'all. I am not trying to sell my house. You've got Zoom, right? A free Zoom account allows you to record on your computer, right, and do 40 minutes of presentation. You only need 5 to 15. So, I would
keep making it longer every time.
Yeah,
okay.
y'all let me keep talking about it. It's going to be 30 minutes, right? But then you can upload it to YouTube, right? You've got a Google account with Agnes Scott. You know, just upload it to YouTube and then send me the unpublished link or whatever. You know, submit that. That way, it's not out there for the world to unless you want to generate revenue off of it. But yeah, that's the way I would recommend doing it. It's just Zoom and then record on this computer, right? And then do your little spiel, and then stop the recording, load it up. That's what I do every week, right, for y'all. So, okay. Other.
So,
go ahead.
When you might have said this, and I was just like been doing notes or something, but like the recording that we're doing, is that going to be like in class, or is it like an assignment that we're just going to put the link in?
It's an assignment. Yeah, it's an assignment. I'm not having y'all do anything in person. I'd rather spend the class time talking through these projects than spending an entire class having you present this stuff live and all of the technical glitches that come anytime someone tries to do that.
Okay, so like we upload the thingy, it's already an assignment that like the practice keeping it stuck in it?
Yeah, I'm going to have a separate assignment.
Oh, okay. So it just hasn't shown up on Canvas yet. All right.
It has not shown up on Canvas yet because I haven't opened them yet. I'll probably open them tomorrow, the next day. But you know what they are. They're in this workshop. They're in this PowerPoint.
Trying to find it, and I couldn't find it.
No, sorry. Yeah, no, I didn't. I built out the others, but those two are next. So yeah, you are. Hey, is everybody okay with that? Does anybody really feel compelled to present to their classmates live a 20 to 30 minute data story?
Ken said he wanted to.
Okay, Ken, you're on. You're up.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
You're good. Jody is about to get muted. She's working towards it actively. Okay, so again, what should they do about it, y'all? That is sometimes the hardest question, right? Is remembering that we are trying to incite change. And then not only what's the impact of that action, but also think about this and frame it whichever way you want to. Yeah, it's up to y'all. It's your story, right? But not only, you might ask the question, well, the impact of doing this is X, Y, and Z. You might also find in a persuasive argument, it's sometimes better to say, what's the impact if we do nothing? Or what's the outcome if we do nothing, right? I've actually used that in my own work a few times. We have, not to go too deep into higher education management, but we're under kind of we're under the gun for we're about a year out from our accreditation review, and our accreditor, the Higher Learning Commission, has now said in a policy statement that we should have a code of conduct for anyone that interacts with a potential student before they enroll. And the reason why is because a lot of schools have gotten in trouble for saying, hey, Lou, if you come to Atchison State University, not only will you graduate with a great major, you're going to get a job that's going to pay you $100,000 a year, right? All of our graduates are employed, all of them are making this money. And then what they're finding out is it's mostly at private for-profit institutions that they've had this issue, that students graduate, they don't make that money. It's kind of like a promise that was made to them in the recruiting process. And not only that, but that recruiters get like incentives for recruiting additional students, like pay, like they get paid more the more students that they go out and recruit. And anyway, all that can be pretty problematic. So we are trying to develop basically a training. And the question that came up today while I was just down the street was, okay, who isn't talking to a student before they enroll, right? Financial aid is, admissions is, faculty are, all that stuff. And the lady who's over the accreditation process at this institution looked at me, she said, Eric, what's your take? And I just looked at her straight face and I said, I think everybody's got to be given the opportunity to take this training, to understand that we can't promise students the world, right? We can tell them the numbers and figures and stuff, but we can't say things that aren't true. Anyway, so and then someone said, well, that's going to be hard to do. I said, I didn't say they had to do it. I said they have to be given the opportunity to do it, and then we can tell faculty that they can't go out to that career or that, you know, that high school recruitment fair unless they've got that checkbox checked, right? So I was like, so what's the impact if we don't do this? Well, we don't really have a script for all of our people, and the likelihood of someone saying something, it's there. Yeah. So again, sometimes saying, what's the impact if we don't do it, or what's the effect if we do nothing, right? How is that going to affect the institution? How's it going to affect the students, etc. Sorry, did somebody try to jump in? I thought I heard someone on mute. Jody. Okay. You work in admissions, right? Are you out there
Yes.
promising? No, I'm sure. Oh, okay.
No, but
You are
that
promising?
is, no, I'm not, but that is a concern, especially because we have
Yeah.
students from outside the United States when it comes to their financial aid. And I'm not always sure that everybody who talks to those students has a clear understanding of how that process works. We require students who are non-US to put down, for most programs, the full 4-year tuition. And there seems to be a lot of confusion about that. So I think that's a great idea.
No, it does. Well, so what we did was we found out that our financial aid office already has a code of conduct surrounding loans, that basically none of our financial aid counselors serve on any boards affiliated with any loan companies. Like we have like a very kind of separated type of situation there, and so we're using that as a skeleton for the code of conduct for our admissions recruiters and anyone that works with students. Okay. So we've got about 20 minutes left. This is, you'll see this in the book. This is in chapter 5. I really like this diagram though. We should all be somewhere between explore and insight right now, right? Everybody's got their data, right? Everybody's learning more about their data, but maybe you don't know it. And so that's why in order to build a data story, you can't just have data and then explore it, get some sort of insight and be done with it. If you do that, it's really kind of surface level. You kind of have to enhance or increase your subject matter expertise a little bit along the way, kind of like what Carrie said a minute ago. Even though you're not a subject matter expert in anxiety in children, guess what? You're probably going to be a little bit more before this is over with. And that's a good thing, right? So if you're looking at something that you've never really looked at before, get ready to dive in a little bit of time in this explain stage. If you are working with data you're familiar with, then expect to spend more time on the explore stage. So, Adria, you know, retention is retention, but like you said, you have to kind of explore it a little bit further, right? You need to kind of break it out a little bit. And then we don't just have a one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to actually communicating this information out. It always depends on your audience, y'all. It always depends on your audience. So earlier I told you, when you do your data story, we are your audience. We are. You've been with us for 12 weeks now, right? I think we know each other well enough to be able to talk to each other. In case you couldn't tell, you probably learned pretty early on that I know half of this class pretty well because of the fact that I've had them in multiple courses, hence why Jody gets muted every week, right? But that's just how, you know, after you build rapport with us, I don't want you to feel like you have to develop your data story for any particular audience, because I think that'll put a little bit more strain on you. So I'd like for you to keep it general and keep it to us, okay? Does that make sense, y'all? If you have a compelling reason to present it to a different type of audience than this class, shoot me an email and just let me know. And I'll just kind of reframe my thinking whenever I watch it. I can do that pretty quickly. If you want me to be like a CEO, I can do that. If you want me to be a 5-year-old in a classroom, I'm sure my wife will tell you I can do that in a heartbeat. So I get it. I mean, I get it though, right? Especially if the topic is something about, you know, students being safe or something like that.
I actually,
You ought to, yeah, go ahead, Dia.
now that you said it that way about the audience, I actually need to put something together for this foundation where they want us to do like an actual like more comprehensive mental health program than kind of what we do, because like I said, it's just an after school program, you know, like 1.5 hours of programming. So, you know, you kind of just get that like taste of a conversation, and each week is kind of like a different topic. So, you know, like today we had a workshop about like signs of domestic violence in an intimate partner relationship, right? But last week we were talking about geographic information science and how to get a career in that field. So like the topics are kind of all over the place, but also really focused on personal and professional development. But this funder has like a good portion of folks on their board who are like, they're literal clinical psychologists. And I don't deal with a lot of researchers anymore. So I'm thinking of going that route and talking more about the mental health, why we need this mental health program, like using the data set to communicate some portion of that conversation.
Well, again, Dia, if it fits your needs and the work that you need to do, feel free to change up that audience focus a little bit. Just let me know. You know, just let me know. So again, I can kind of reframe my thinking whenever I look at it. I am not a psychologist. Actually, I am. Every single faculty member you will ever have and ever have had have some sort of psychological training, right? Because we're often more than just talking heads on a Zoom. But no, I'm glad you said that. As you work through, oops, there we go, back one. All right, Freytag experiment. Again, we kind of started off here, but I just want to kind of re-emphasize it. As you think about how your story moves and progresses, the annotation I would definitely add to this screenshot, y'all, is where your data comes into play. Where your data comes into play. I would think that you might want something right here, right? Something more descriptive. Maybe something that compares groups right here, right? Something that shows some sort of differences between, I don't know, first year students, second year students, folks in different income groups and housing rates or interest rates and that sort of thing, right? Incorporate data here and then incorporate data over this way. It's definitely something that's much more doable, as you really get to know your data a little bit. But I would go ahead and start plotting out what information is going where. That way, when you get to your dashboard, you know exactly what step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4 is going to look like. Okay. All right. Speaking of which, let me kind of show y'all how to navigate with dashboards. There are a couple of ways of doing this. The one way, let me see if I move some controls around. There we go. Easiest way to do it, which is definitely something that y'all can do, is creating a data story or a storyline, whatever you want to call it. So if you come down here in Tableau, the first little plus sign is a new worksheet. The next one's a new dashboard. And then the last one is a new. Go ahead, Nika.
No, I was gonna say I like using the storyboards versus like the dashboards.
Okay, so you're familiar with stories.
Yeah. Or at least I like
walk us through it.
Huh?
Walk us through it. How do we do it?
So for like the stories, you can drag like a sheet, and then up at the top you can drag a sheet into there, and then up at the top, where is it? You can add like the captions or the title of whatever you're trying to do, and then you're able to add like another sheet, and you can have it shown at the top with you.
How do we do that?
Yeah, do that.
Did y'all see that? All I did was bring sheet by sheet. Sorry, I just duplicated sheet 1. Right? I just right-clicked on it, duplicated it, and then I went back to the story, and I dragged it kind of up here at the top. And now they should all be the same, right? Because I just duplicated them. But that's one way, again, to navigate through different worksheets, right, Nika?
Yeah.
So again, I've got the same filters on everything here, so you're not gonna see any changes. Actually, what we can do is that's not connected, I guess. So let's try that out. So sheet 1, sheet 2. Let's just say we don't want Atlanta, want Cleveland and Chicago. Or just Chicago and Detroit. Okay. And take off New York. All right, that's sheet 1, 2. So all types of cancer, other sheet, boom, Chicago, Detroit. You see that? So sheet 1, Atlanta, New York, sheet 2, Chicago, Detroit. Make sense? Just got to make sure you don't have everything filtering the same on both. All right, good. Thank you very much, Nika. I really appreciate you walking us through that. I'm going to take all that off.
So we can do that instead of using the dashboard?
So that is a form of the dashboard. The only thing is you have to kind of, oops, let me bring it back, sorry, go all the way. All right, so notice here how we've got our filters. We can't customize our filter view. See how they're all over here on the side? The dashboards allow us to put objects, Jody. So that's the beauty of the dashboard, is that it looks cleaner. Nika, do you want to add anything to that?
Pardon?
Oh, I asked if you wanted to add anything. I thought I saw you on mute.
No.
Yeah. So that's one way, but it, again, it reduces some functionality. Another way of doing navigation is, again, let's go to duplicate our sheet. We're going to duplicate them twice, okay? We already have one dashboard, right? We've all created our dashboards on the Big City Health data. Let's say in sheet 1, we're showing it like this, vertical bar chart. Sheet 2, and I do this a lot, y'all. I can't even tell you how often I do this. I will show the same data 3 different ways sometimes because I have audiences that want to see it 3 different ways. So in sheet 2, I'm going to show it in the line chart because it is a trend, right? 2011, 2012, 2013. Sheet 1, bar chart. Sheet 1, 2, line chart. Sheet 3, we're just going to look at locals, just to keep it simple, okay? Our dashboard here is the bar chart. It's looking at sheet 1. So again, we duplicate our dashboard twice more. So we've got 3 different sheets, 3 different dashboards. On dashboard 2, I'm going to bring in sheet 1, 2, and take out sheet 1. Okay. There it is. Okay. And then dashboard 3, same thing, just bring in sheet 3, take out sheet 1. Now, we got 3 dashboards. When we save this to Tableau Public, it's only going to show the one dashboard that we have selected. There's this little button down here under Objects. You probably can't read it very easily. It says Navigation. Does everybody see it? Drag Navigation into your kind of your upper pane here, and then double click it, and have navigate to dashboard 1, 2, and enter the title, line, and you can change the color to whatever you want, right? However you want. But navigate to dashboard 1, 2, and then change title line. Hit OK. And then we'll bring another navigation button right underneath it, double click it, and say navigate to dashboard 1, 3, and put circle. Everybody see that? How long does that take? Less than a minute? Okay. So dashboard 1, 2. Again, this time we're going to navigate to dashboard 1. Dashboard 1, like the OG dashboard, right? And then we're going to call that one bars. And then we're going to bring another navigation over and call this one circle. And it's going to go to 1, 3. And if you want to just bring a blank in and make that kind of look a little similar. There you go, bars and circles. Same thing here. Again, doing it 3 times, except this time we go to dashboard 1, and we call it, what do we call it? My favorite place to go after work.
Bar.
That's right. And then the second one, again, going to dashboard 1, 2, and lines. Okay. Okay, try to make it look nice. And we'll go back to dashboard 1 and hit save. Hit line, line. Hit circles, circles. Hit bars, bars. Easy peasy. Everybody in awe or processing.
That is really cool.
It's easy, y'all. Navigate. I mean, the navigation tool, when it came out about 4 years ago, was a game changer. Before that, it was parameters, which are very complex and formulaic. But I like the story. It's very simple. If you get frustrated, anything like that, stories are straightforward. But navigation's not crazy. You just have to remember you have to have the right sheets and dashboards created for it. Okay? Anybody have any questions? Okay. So, let me ask this question. Has everybody gone back to the Connect assignment and seen how they peer review each other?
Seen how to, or just seen how other people did it?
No. Like actually, I assigned peer review. So you should have some sort of ability to do peer review.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, like we've done it. Yes.
Oh, I didn't know if you had done it yet or not. I was just making sure
Oh.
y'all had seen that you had been assigned to review somebody else. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, I felt that.
Okay.
Yeah, there's like a
I've
little
never
purple.
done this before. Oh,
I was just gonna say
Go
there's
ahead,
like a
Joe.
little purple bar, and it's very, you'll see it. You don't have to do it in the discussion board. Like you'll see, you can give feedback just on your partners.
okay. Yeah, I can't see what y'all see there, just so you know. And I've never done this before in the discussion. So I was like, we're going to try this out because I think peer review would help each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay, so glad that's working. Okay, don't forget, we've got a little bit of stuff, a good amount of stuff between now and then. Don't hesitate to reach out to me between now and next Tuesday, okay? In fact, I want you to. And don't forget, Google works really well when it comes to learning little things in Tableau or thinking about how to visualize data. And I did go back. I did provide comments to y'all on your one pager that you did a little bit ago. You know, just things to think about as you place data in the charts, graphs, that sort of thing. I don't think I saw anything too glaring, but definitely want to make sure y'all feel comfortable with it. And again, just shoot me a text or an email this week. I've got a pretty light load except for Thursdays. You're always pretty packed. But I'm happy to do whatever we can to help. I will be out of the house. We are one thing that myself and I decided a long time ago is that if we ever have to see both sides of our family in a week, we deserve a vacation. And so we're just taking a weekend into the mountains just to get away. But I should have access to Wi-Fi. I'm not. I don't think I won't. But if for some reason it's not good, I can't not have this. So I will pop in to a Starbucks and answer any questions I can. Try to touch base. I just want to give y'all that heads up. Any questions, comments, anything like that?